Oi, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. We got Louis C.K. and he's going to be talking about some comedy in Australia. That's interesting. What's he going to be saying about comedy? What's his opinion on it? I guess we'll find out next. All right, let's get to it. I'm Mace, coming to you right now from Canada. A good old Canadian boy, drinking my lucky maple syrup. Maple syrup in the morning, lucky in the evening, baby. Silly. More like Tim Hortons in the morning, maple syrup in the lunch hours, and lucky in the evening. If you're wondering what lucky is, it's a cheap, economical, and albeit drinkable beer available in Western Canada. I don't know if it's all over Canada. It might be, but it's very popular in British Columbia and parts of Alberta. Louis C.K., okay, he was canceled, remember, years ago for exposing himself. He pulled out his penis in front of a female comedian, I guess. And then afterward, he got Me Too'd for the entire thing. He didn't break any laws because apparently he asked these female comedians if he could do what he did. I'm not defending what he did by any means. I'm just kind of describing, from what I understand, what exactly happened. He pulled out his thing and masturbated in front of these, I don't know if it was one or two or multiple women, but it was like at comedy shows in their green rooms, and he asked them permission, and I guess they said yes. After the fact, they said he was a prominent male comedian in that space and was kind of using he was flexing his, what would you call it? Mystique, not mystique, his majesty. What's the word? God damn it, it's right on the edge of my tongue. Don't you hate when that happens? He was flexing his... He was using his... I don't know, star power. I forgot there was a specific word that I was thinking of. But let's see what he says about comedy in Australia.
There's some place in Australia, there's a club in Melbourne.
And
I've done it twice, 20 years apart. And both times nobody had any idea who I was. Like the MC did, he's a comic. So he was like, he said a lot of really nice things. And he said, this guy, what a treat. And he brings me on and the crowd's like... And they're just
Who's this guy
going like this to each other. And I'm doing material that has been killing in large concert venues, and they just don't give a fuck. Like then I found out what's actually, means something to anybody.
So it's different culturally too. Like they'll laugh at things over there that we don't laugh at.
Australia, do you find that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Australia is a fascinating place.
It is.
They're wild people. They're like they're very similar to Americans, but not
at all. That's what you get there, and you think it's America.
Nope.
And because you're in a tube, in an American tube, and you go over there, and then you sleep in an American hotel, and everybody's white, and they don't sound British. They sound a little more like us. It feels American. Then you're walking down the street, and a fucking parrot flies by. And lands on a telephone pole. And you're like, what the fuck is a parrot doing? And you realize you're surrounded by tropical creatures. Like I was in Perth, which is completely different from Sydney and Melbourne. Like they call them the eastern states. Perth is on the west coast of Australia. And it's in the Indian Ocean, south of India. It's it's really like, Perth is like a city surrounded by just no people. And there's crazy creatures and weird plants and then these white people. And they're not, they're not.
Crazy creatures, weird plants, and then these white people.
They used to be prisoners.
In Perth it's different. It's
Is it?
They were. It was founded as a commercial venture. An English captain went to England and he got money, and he paid people to go, and they're miners. It's just these.
That is something that I need to research more and better if we're going to be doing this channel, is the history of Australia, like when it was found. I mean, the Aborigines were there, right? But like when the British colonies, and like this when they're referring to it as a prison. I know there's truth to that, but I'm wondering about the specifics of that whole situation with sending prisoners to Australia to serve out their sentences, I guess, and just how everything came together.
Huge giant holes in the ground. I think it's iron, and there's these guys that live in Perth, and they all have tons of money from this dirty work that they do, and they call them FIFOs, fly in, fly out, because they fly into the mines and then they just live. It's just covered in shit, and sleep in a bunk next to the hole for like a month, and then they give them like whatever, $100,000. Then they go back to Perth. It's a weird culture.
Well, there's a lot of people that do that, like camp. That's camp work, right? You fly into camp, you fly home. A lot of people do that around the world. They didn't really talk about that much, did they? about comedy and what makes Australians specifically laugh. What makes Australians tick? Like, what are the little idiosyncrasies and differences between comedy from, say, a North American show, and how would they tweak their show if they're doing the same show in Australia? Or do they just do the same show and then find different ebbs and flows within that of what the Australians find funny versus what the Americans find funny? They really didn't get into that much, so it's kind of a short clip, but yeah. All right. See you in the next one, folks. Later.